Hello everyone and welcome to my first tutorial. So I today will be doing this really cute project with these watermelons. I'm calling it Watermelon Love. And if you want to do this project, obviously you're welcome to follow along on here as well. But I will be posting the reference photo, the posterized photo, and my color list, that kind of stuff on my new Patreon account. So I highly recommend going there if you want to get all the materials and more of an in-depth look at, how I am putting down color and watercolor pencil techniques and etc. And I'm hoping to do a watercolor pencil basics video very soon, as well as like some other exciting projects, colored pencil, watercolor pencil, etc. Anyway, so this is Watermelon Love, and what I did for this actually was I did get a posterized version, and all that is just a picture where you increase the contrast. And you put it in black and white, and I like to put it around 5 or 6 shades, and it just gives you a really good idea of the values. So if you're new at art, or you're just a little bit confused about, where to put light values, where to put dark values, this can be a really good resource. And I do it all the time just because sometimes you look at a thing and you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. So this was an interesting project because it turns out that it's hard to get hold on, I'm going to close the window, it's kind of loud. Anyway, as it turns out, it's actually somewhat difficult to get the watermelon color right. If you can see this paper, I did a whole lot of experimenting before I settled on the right combination of colors. I basically put down every single pink and red color I had and made little swatches so I could kind of figure out what maybe would be good together. And so I finally did find like the perfect watermelon color, but it was definitely a process. And I did end up using a whole lot of colors, which I will say, if you're following along or doing this with your own set of watercolor pencils, do not feel like you have to use all the colors I used. I was just kind of having a good time trying a bunch of different stuff. And obviously it did turn out pretty well, but I just want you to know, don't be intimidated. You also don't have to use the exact same supplies I'm using. I'm using Albrecht Dürer by Faber-Castell watercolor pencils because they're my favorite, but you can use whatever you have because the techniques will pretty much always be the same. Also, okay, so I am using Arteza watercolor paper. I want to say it's 140 weight. It's cold press, and it's the professional paper. Again, don't have to use what I'm using. This is just the paper I was using, and I really liked it. So the purpose of these videos is really to kind of obviously teach watercolor pencil, because I feel like maybe there's people hoping to learn this, and there aren't a ton of videos out there of people doing like entire projects in watercolor pencil. And I personally love it because I think it's like such a great combination of colored pencils and watercolor, obviously. So you've got the really cool watercolor sort of techniques and the way that it goes down and sort of the blooms and all the cool stuff that watercolor does, but you've also got more control because it's in a pencil. And so you can go in later with your pencil dry and add details, and like you can do stuff that you can't necessarily do with just watercolor paint or just with colored pencils. So, and for me, someone who basically, I mean, I've been doing art forever, but I really got into art again a few years ago, and I started doing watercolor. And so watercolor is very comfortable for me, but I also, when I found out about watercolor pencils, I was like, wait, what? So I was very excited. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure your pencils are pretty sharp before you get started. But basically, what I did was I started with the edge because if you can see, the watermelon has a good edge here, which is kind of a light, really light, almost cream color. It has some yellow and green, and then that goes into the sort of pinky red area. So I started out by taking my cream, sorry, not my cream, because the cream was a bit too, yeah, sorry, no, the cream, yeah. I took the cream, and I sort of just started to mark out like where the edge was on my paper, very lightly. So if you can't really see, then don't feel bad because I'm doing it pretty lightly. But I just wanted to kind of mark out where this sort of edge was, so that because I didn't put it in here because I didn't want a line. So it's kind of important just to, I think, mark it out so you know where it is, but you don't want to be too heavy because there's not a lot of pigment on this section. Okay, so we're just gonna marking it out, no big deal. We're gonna go in later and you know, fix it, but I'm just kind of marking it out. And don't worry about the side ones for now. We will get to those. So what I did first was I decided to put down some, sorry, we're in the wrong color, alizarin crimson, because I wanted something that had red in it as well, but I knew that the this pink color, pink carmine, was definitely the color I wanted for the watermelon, and the reason being that I did that experiment with the swatches ahead of time. But I knew that carmine pink by itself probably wasn't going to be good enough, so I ended up layering it with red and orange to really achieve the color that I wanted. Okay, so if we look at the picture, we can see that there's like certain areas that are kind of darker and certain areas that are lighter. So I'm gonna go in first with this crimson and kind of just start to get a layer down on these darker areas, and really not go on the edge very much with this because that is the lightest area of the watermelon. So I'm not really going to go over to the edge, but I'm going to do around the heart part and just like, and it doesn't matter if you get this on some light parts. The nice thing about the watercolor pencil is you can go over it again with other colors and they will show. I'm also going to show you some really fun extra techniques that you can use to really bring out the texture of the watermelon. And so yeah, don't worry too much about that right now. We're just getting some of these spots in where there's some darker pigment. Around here. Just really get that in, get this in. I did mark off where the darkest sort of parts were, just to help out. So that's what that blob is. And then I also marked off where the seeds are. This part isn't that dark, but we still should have like a little bit of a layer down of the red. And I would say, yeah, try to kind of follow the curves of the watermelon as much as possible, but it's also not a huge deal if you don't, because this is just the first layer. But I'm gonna start using more pressure when I'm in the actual blobby dark part, just because that is the darkest part. So I'm gonna outline it actually with my pencil as much as I can, and then start to put in like more pigment in those areas, since that's definitely the darkest. It's one of the darkest. If you look at the posterized thing, which I put somewhere smart, here. The problem is it did kind of cut off some of the dark areas of the watermelon, but if it had shown them, you would have seen that there aren't really tons of areas on this one that are super dark. It's mostly mid-tone with some lighter areas, but then there are these parts in the middle where it's definitely more concentrated color. It's darker. So. I'm just getting that in. Kind of got some color in my seeds, but not a huge deal. Just try to go around them, but it's okay. I made my outline very light because I didn't want the lines to show, and sometimes that's not super helpful for seeing where things are. So if you're also outlining this, tracing this or whatever, you might want to make your lines a bit darker than I made mine. Okay, so there is kind of another dark patch over here that goes off the paper. So I'm going to also put that in, but then just continue my sort of light layering around the watermelon. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. Actually, let me make sure before I go too far that you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna keep putting red in here. Unfortunately, my printer also cut off a bit of the watermelon, but that's okay. We're just gonna do our best to fill in what we've got and just kind of get the color in. And you'll notice I obviously left some areas undone, and that's because these are a lot lighter, and so I don't want to get pigment on them at the moment. Obviously they need color, but they are lighter. So okay, now I'm switching to my orange because the watermelon does have some orange in it, and the orange I saw mostly down here, but you know, you can also kind of put it all over because the watermelon does have orange in it, and so it doesn't have to be too heavy, but you know, just put a general application of orange, maybe a bit darker in the darker parts, but again, don't worry too much. It's not your main color, it's just sort of, I noticed the watermelon had orange in it, and so I decided to put some orange in. Okay, that's pretty good, I think. Now we're gonna take our main color, which is pink carmine, and we're gonna start to put that over the red and the orange, and also kind of lightly in the rest of some of the areas as well. Oops. And you might go over, which I just did, and that's fine. Nothing's perfect, so I try not to stress out too much about that kind of stuff, because it's art at the end of the day. It's not brain surgery. So if you make if you get stuff, pigment somewhere or whatever, don't stress out too much. It's just paper. And my favorite thing to think about when I make a mistake, which I do quite frequently, is that nobody actually knows what your reference look like, so they don't know if you messed up. And the best thing about doing fruit and nature in general is that nature, kind of varies so widely that for all you know, there is a watermelon that looks hinky. Okay. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to, like I said, put a very light layer of this in some of the lighter areas. Not all of them, because a lot of them have just lighter colors, but most of them still have pink on them. So, and because I didn't go that far out, what I'm gonna do actually is take my salmon and kind of start to put some of that down on this edge. And also take some of the, let's see, what color do I want? I think I want cinnamon, yeah. Take some cinnamon, put some of that in. Basically what we're trying to do is create a really nice transition between these colors so that it looks more natural right here. But we are going to be, going in again, and and sorry, now I'm using coral, just again, just trying to make this transition a bit more natural. But we are going to be going in and sort of putting more stuff down, so don't worry too much about that. I'm also going to go in with some of my beige red, and I'm going to put that on these lighter areas at the top here, just to kind of get some color in there, but to sort of also mark off where the lighter areas are. Okay. And then I'm going to leave the edge alone for now, but we are going to be adding some yellows and greens to that. And I'm not going to do the seeds yet either, because I want to get the color around them painted first. So I'm taking a brush, I'm using around 6, and I'm putting some water on it. And what I'm going to do actually is start in the lightest area and just kind of smooth it towards that, okay? And then go here and kind of just brush that out. And don't worry about it if you get color somewhere else, because the nice thing about watercolor pencil is you can layer it, so if we have any issues we can likely go back and fix them, so it doesn't matter that much. This is more just because I like to do some get some color down and then see what it's doing. And I am going to show you some other really fun techniques because as you saw, I did this in a very traditional way, which is to put the color down and then use the brush to brush it out. But I'm going to show you the other ways you can do watercolor pencil, which are really fun. One is dry on wet. So the pencil's dry, but you make the paper wet, and then you can just put the pencil directly down, and it's really, really fun. And the other method is to dip the pencil directly into the water and then, put it down that way. And the reason I don't enjoy that for large surfaces is because, like this watermelon, is because of the quick drying time, basically, like the way that the pencil just loses water so quickly, so you really have to continually dip it, and it can be really frustrating, and especially if you're doing a really large area like this, right? But for a smaller area, like let's say the little heart or something, that would be a great way to get color down and get sort of the watermelon-y effect, but not have to like do this more, I guess, almost intensive way of doing it. But like I said, I like this because for the bigger surfaces, because it's more efficient. However, that being said, sometimes you have less control and the colors will kind of, but I mean, that's kind of always the case, I think, with watercolors, that you're always in danger of like having stuff do something you don't want it to do. But that's also the beauty of it, I think. So anyway, just getting this and not worrying too much about the fact that that's supposed to be darker right now. I'm just really trying to smooth it out. And just try to get around your seeds, and maybe you didn't mess them up like I did, but again, they're just seeds, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Just trying to go around them, but I can also like cover some of that up, so. And then getting this lighter edge. Okay, and then what I'm going to do next is the cream that I put down on the very edge. I'm going to sort of try to get it to blend better with this part, but if it doesn't right now, it's okay, because we can always go back in. And so I'm probably going to break this tutorial up into different parts just so nobody gets too overwhelmed. And so if you want to work on it for like you know, an hour here, an hour there, you can. You're not like having to do the whole thing at once. Because I know what it's like. Sometimes you just don't have that much time to work on stuff. Just the reality. Okay, so now I really love what happened here. It created this kind of bloom right here, which is very cool. And that's, you know, one of the reasons why watercolor pencil is so fun. But, so what I'm going to do now, because this is going to have to dry, this is the other reason I'm going to probably do this in parts instead of trying to do it all at once, is, yeah, because it has drying time involved. But I'm going to show you the, like, dipping the pencil directly into the water technique. You know, being careful to kind of not paint over the lighter areas of this heart watermelon, but also, you know, it's okay. But I may have to sharpen the pencil too because it's gotten a little harder to control where the stuff goes, but as you can see, it's really quite a fun thing to do. It's just harder to keep going for a very long time because the pencil eventually will kind of get dry again. It's not getting very dry right now, and I think that's because there's still some water in other areas of this, so it's like mixing in with the water from past marks, if that makes sense. And since this is wet already, I'm actually going to just go right over it with the crimson and see what happens. This may not work because it's really wet, but oh no, you know what? I'm going over it with the pink caramel. Wait, what? Oh, never mind, you guys. I'm sorry, I was confusing myself. I was actually using the crimson, and the crimson just looks really pink for some reason. When you do that thing where you dip it in the water, it just ends up looking very, very pink. So that's kind of interesting. And now I'm gonna try to layer some orange, see if that works. And it may just be that I have to come back when it's dry and, you know, do this again. And it's kind of looking that way. So let me wipe off my orange pencil, which now has the wrong colors on it. But as you can see, that's a fun way to do it. I just think it's a little I don't know how to explain it, but it's not my favorite. I do really enjoy the dry on wet though, so I will also show you that really fast. Maybe the big watermelon will be dry by that time. I will say with this method, the one thing to know is that it will be darker when you put the color down. So it'll be darker than it looks on the main watermelon when I do this wet, dry on wet. As you can see, even though dipping the pencil made a big difference too in the sort of you know, darkness of the color. God, sorry, I can't remember English for some reason. Okay, so anyway, I am going to, and I really do like this method as well, although if it's hot where you are, it can dry pretty quickly because the watercolor paper absorbs the water. So just FYI, you might want to just do smaller sections of wetness than I did, and just be aware that it might dry up kind of quickly. So, but it can be pretty fun because you can kind of just go over it like this, and it's kind of fun to see, to feel it and see what it does. But I think what stops me from doing that, again, is just you have to basically do little sections at a time. You can't do like one thing. Like you wouldn't be able to do this entire watermelon because it would dry too quickly before you got to the various sections. So that's just something to be aware of. Actually, I am going to go ahead and mark off these seeds right now, just so they are marked. They're not very dark, so I'm going to use brown for them, but I might go over the inside one with black because it appears to be a bit darker than the other one. I feel like I saw a seed somewhere else. Maybe not though. I mean, there's those seeds. We'll get to those, but I just kind of wanted to make sure those were marked up. Let me see if this is dry. Feels pretty dry. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab the yellows that I got. And a couple of the greens that I got. Okay. So the yellows that I have here are, this is sort of a greeny color really, but it's like cadmium yellow lemons. It's like a really neon-y lemon. I've got the cream, which I already used. And I've got the light yellow glaze. And then I've also got these greens. I have earth green, yellowish, and what are you? May green, I want to say. May green. And then I have a darker green too, but that's going to be more for the rinds. Is that what you call it? Yeah, rinds, watermelon rinds. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking at the picture, and I kind of feel like this brighter yellow is going to be really good for this edge. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that down right now. There's one part in particular where it starts to come out more. So I'm going to, put more of it there and like some more of it down here. And just keep going with this, putting it down, getting like a light layer of it. It doesn't have to match the picture exactly. Put a little bit over here. But actually as it keeps going, actually I put more of it over here, but as it keeps going it seems like it gets a bit more green. So I'm going to go in with my lighter green, the May green, and just kind of start putting some of that down as well, but only in the parts where I'm seeing it, like here, a little bit of green here, more green like in this area. Definitely we're getting to more green down here, and here, and just this is the area where it mostly looked green, like there was more green than yellow. So I'm gonna put some there, got some going up this way. Okay. And go over the edge a bit. And then actually I'm going to even put some here. The reason being that the rind is there. We just can't see it very well because of the background, which I decided not to include. But if we're looking at this, we know that the rind is there. So, it's good to have the green at the edge just to kind of represent that. Okay. Now there are some darker areas as well, so I'm going to layer some of this darker green over the May green. Sorry, no, is this the May green? Earth green, yellowish, yeah. Okay, it's the darker one, so I'm going to put a bit of that on the edges here. And this one actually comes up a bit more, so But again, don't worry too much at this stage. We're just kind of getting color down and trying to layer stuff, so we don't have to worry too much about all the different stuff right now. Let's see. Why do I feel like I'm missing something? Oh, I guess I'm not. Okay. Actually, so I do have a sort of light pink color too, and that's because I sort of saw some light pink kind of in some of the areas on the watermelon, especially around the edge. So I'm just gonna go in now with this light pink color that I have and sort of put it on some of these lighter edge parts. I don't think the watermelon is totally dry yet, so probably not gonna do like a second layer yet. But then over here there's like this really light part on this one. I don't know if this is completely dry either, but I'm just gonna go in with this beige red and mark where this lighter area is. There's some over here too, and I actually think that the edge of this one is very orange, but it's definitely not totally dry, so I'm going to let it dry. Okay, welcome back to the watermelon tutorial. I think what we'll do right now actually is the seeds, just to get them in. And obviously the shape got a little messed up, but it's fine because you can essentially see, you know, tell that they're seeds. And so I'm just gonna put in some stuff in here, some markings, but nothing too, I mean, they're just seeds, so it's not a huge deal if they're perfect or whatever. They're just seeds. But I do think it's good to get them in now, before I do more of the watermelon. And this one's a bit more brown, so I'm gonna actually, and yeah, I mean, I totally messed them up when I was doing the actual watermelon, but again, doesn't really matter. They're, you know, they're my seeds. But I'm just gonna get the brown in there, put it over the black a little. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I think, is probably get in the orange on the small one, you know, do the rinds, do as much as we can before letting it probably dry again. And I have a lot of stuff going on today, so, but we'll see if we can, how much we can get through of this, because I would like to actually, you know, finish it for you guys. Okay, so really on this small one, I'm seeing a lot of like orange on the outside of it. So I'm going to put in this orange here. And then I think I might actually put in some other sort of pink on top of the orange, just to kind of, and the orange doesn't go all the way, it really just goes. And you might want to blow occasionally, get rid of the excess stuff, but it sort of goes around here and then up here and tapers off, and then it seems like it's more here again. But this part especially, I think I'm going to layer with like salmon or some kind of pink color. And I am doing the dry one, the dry method right now. But like I said, you can sort of play around and see what works for you, because maybe you like some other, you know, you like one of the other methods better, like the one where you dip it, or the one where you paint, which I like I said, I find really fun. It's just kind of hard sometimes because it's you have to work fast, so the water won't dry before it is, you get the pencil there. So, sorry, it's the morning. I just had coffee. I am still waking up. So if I sort of stumble on words and stuff, that's why, because I am not fully awake yet, but hopefully that coffee starts to kick in. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I think, is the green one here. And if you look at the picture, you can see that there's kind of the lighter green, and it's like going around the edge. And so we really want to make sure to preserve that. And I'm just sort of outlining where the green part is, because the thing is, this is the special one, which has this like interesting shiny part on it, and so I'm sort of also not putting the green on that part because we have other plans for that. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of fill this in with the green, and just sort of pay attention. And don't worry, I have plans to make sure that the lighter green shows through. But right now we're just going to sort of get a base down, maybe put in some of the darker markings. Probably just get this base down though, so I can so I know where it is. Okay? And then I'm going to, let's see, probably take the more neon-y green, because, okay, I don't know if you guys can see very well, but there is a line right here which is sort of marking where this, where the edge actually stops, and there's some sort of neon-y yellow green there, so that's what I'm kind of putting in right now. And I'm gonna sort of bring it over but make it lighter. And then the part next to it is really just like cream. Wow, I almost grabbed like a real colored pencil. That would have been interesting. But anyway, I also kind of marked off where this part ends as well, where the sort of whitish creamy part ends. So and I want to overlap that a bit with the yellow so that it really looks natural. And I think I will actually put in the green part down here too, because that would just be sort of helpful. And again, I don't know if you guys can see, because I purposefully made my outline pretty light, because I made it really dark the first time I did this, and it just was showing too much, so I made it a lot lighter. But the green part here doesn't come all the way up, so I'm just gonna put that in again, just like the base. And that, I'm also going to do the one over here, because why not? And I should probably sharpen my pencils, but I will do that shortly. I just really like to get, and actually with this one there's a bit of green over the edge too, on this over here, which could be a little confusing, so just watch out for that. I'm going to put some of the really bright yellow green on here as well over this, have it like come down more, and then put the beige down again, sorry, not the beige, the cream down again, and have it like overlap that a bit. And this actually does come all the way up, so Okay, and then, oh, actually, I'm going to put this in too while I'm here because there's sort of a beigey area you can see right here, and I kind of want to get that in as well. Not beige. Why do I keep saying beige? Cream is what I'm trying to say. And I actually think that this weird shiny part has sort of a cream layer base to it. You actually could even probably put some of the bright yellow green on there, but just very lightly because we don't want it to be super obvious that it's there. And let's see. Oh, I should probably do the cream part of this as well. Just get that down. Mostly just sort of marking this off so that I don't accidentally color over it, and just kind of get it in there. And okay, and so now what I'm going to do is this part. And so I can kind of see sort of some peachy, salmon-y thing sort of happening there. And I think the most accurate color is actually coral. So I'm gonna take the coral and oh, I screwed up a little bit. Okay, that's all right. I took this a little further than I meant to, but it's not a huge deal. I'll just move some of this up a little bit here. We'll be fine with this. This is actually, I think, the shiny part. So I will put some of that on there. And then I will take this and put it over this green. And I know it's going to look kind of weird, but we will figure it out. And, you know, overlap some of it onto that. And because that's really the color I see coming first. Now, after that is more of the pink. Not the crimson, sorry. The pink carmine. So we're going to take that and start to sort of put that in over this as well. And again, don't worry about it. Like, you can kind of, if you make the same mistake I did, you can just kind of layer over it. It's not a huge deal. It might look a little different because the color got a little different, but it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to put some of that in. And there is like a lighter part under the berry that kind of goes down. So we'll take care of that. But as you can, the heart, as you can see, the heart is sort of leaving a shadow on here, which is what I also tried to mark off. And this kind of creates like a cavern. It's like a cavern here. And the cavern sort of has one of the seeds in it. And this seed also has like a dark part coming down. So really I just like to mark these off ahead of time so that I know where sort of landmarks are almost. So we're just gonna put some of that in. There's like a darker part around here. If we look at the pasteurized photo, you can kind of see that it's darker and like more mid-tony in the middle of this piece of watermelon. So I'm gonna make sure that I put the pink in the middle a lot, and just, you know, knowing that the dark part is there. So, and then this part's pretty dark, and then also the edge up there is kind of orange, so I'm gonna put some orange in now to kind of mark this off. So there's like orange right here on the edge. Okay, and then I'm actually seeing a lot of pink in that area, sort of pinkish, you know, corally light pink and white and stuff. So I'm going to put a very light layer of like this more pink color just for now, because we might end up covering that up a bit with some coral or some other colors, but I'm just doing this. And I really do see that here as well. So I'm going to put that in here as well. And this part kind of has it, but it's more actually of this salmon color. So I'm going to put some of that in. And again, like I said, the really fun part about these pencils is the ability to layer. And so that's why I'm not that worried about the fact that I messed that area up, because you can layer stuff so easily. Now I'm going to kind of fix this, because this part, obviously I did yesterday, I did it with the other method. So I'm going to put some of this beige red on here, on the edge here, and have it kind of going into the, and then it was fine, that method's fine, it's just that the color looks a little more dodgy, because like I said, it was drying really quickly. So as you can see, the watermelon gets lighter as we go out. This part right here is the darkest, but this part's pretty dark, and there's some lighter areas like up there, and so just want to watch out for those. And also, yeah, don't want to go too far up there, because that part's definitely lighter. So what I'm going to do actually is take this salmon and just start to go over this part with a pretty firm hand, with a pretty hard hand, because I want the salmon to really be the primary, but you also want it to kind of lead into the other color so it looks more gradual. And then for the shaded area, what I'm going to do, because I see kind of a sort of brown there, some brown, so I'm going to like put in some brown here, and then make it more subtle as I go out, but I'm going to just put some brown here. And then I'm going to sort of spread it this way a little bit. And then we will be utilizing the brown a bit more, because there's some darker areas that I want to use it for. But let's see. I think we can probably just do this one, but I need to sharpen my pink, because I keep picking up the red. The red and the pink are very similar looking, but anyway, so I'm gonna sharpen my pink. But as you can probably see from the picture, the color we really want to put in there is once again like one of those beigey, like the beige red or something, because that's generally the color that comes next after the cream. So I'm just going to put some of that in. It's sort of going that way, so I'm going to sort of make sure it goes up higher and just kind of gets in there, and like that. And then we're going to take the red, the pink, might break because it's pretty sharp, but hopefully not, and just sort of start to put that in. And don't forget that the raspberry color is kind of a, and I'm reminding myself as well, is a mixture of pink, orange, and red. So we are going to have to go over most of these pink areas with orange and red. But for now, we are just kind of putting this down. You'll notice it gets a little more orangey, kind of salmony towards the center there. So I'm going to probably not put the raspberry there yet. I'm going to definitely put it over here though, after this sort of dark area that I marked off. And definitely in this little thing I made. And just like, you know, here, and definitely obviously out here, but there is kind of a lighter area up there, so I'm gonna kind of, but I feel like this one, you know, went over a little bit, that's okay, is sort of the darkest one. And that's probably because it has the other ones on top of it, as well as the shadow from the big one. And I did put in the shadows too, so we will be getting to those. But for now, we're just kind of putting this stuff in, getting it sort of set up. So for the middle part, I'm going to use the brown for the part that's under this watermelon right here. Comes out a little down here. I'm also going to put it down here because this shadow is actually really, really dark. We might even put some black in that area, but we'll see how the brown, but you'll see the brown kind of extends out here. So, or sorry, the dark extends out there. And let's see, I actually see some sort of like here-ish, so I'm gonna put that in. I see some in this little loopy thing that I had. So, and then I put it there. Not really seeing it with the top one so much. But actually what we could do now is put in the shadows a bit. I'm going to put them in very, very, very subtly because I don't want them to be very noticeable or very dark. But so I'm just going to use very light pressure and just kind of start to put the shadows in. And what's cool is some of the shadows actually have some red in them, so from the watermelon. So I will also show you that. And especially as you get out further with the shadow, just make sure to make it lighter. So yeah, I'm gonna put this one in too, really, really lightly. And I'm going to start to put in this one very lightly. This is the one with the red in it, which, yeah, it's pretty cool. But for now, we're just gonna do the black. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend some of these out with the water just to kind of see where we're at, what adjustments we need to make, and get us ready for the layering. Okay, so we're just going to blend this out. Really, wow, it's so cool with all the blooms and everything. It's really, really pretty. I'm going to do the cream area now carefully because it can pick up the green, which is fine too, I mean, but we kind of want to keep it separate as much as we can. Then I'm going to start to bring in some of that other color. I'm going to wipe my brush off, probably wash it off too, just to make sure I'm not bringing the other colors in to places that I don't want them. I'm gonna, and you'll see it's a little orangey because I screwed up and put that beige there, but it's not the end of the world. It actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty close to the other watermelon colors that we want anyway, so I'm just gonna keep going, making sure to watch out for my seeds, sort of pay attention to this area. Okay, get that really squared off. You'll see I'm kind of being more careful about like keeping the colors separate when I'm brushing them out, and that's just because I kind of don't want them to get together too much on this one, because I feel like this one has more distinct areas. And the big one does too, but it's a little bit less. So I'm going to do the light pink very carefully, but also it's okay if it gets some of the, I mean, it's fruit. And also, you know, the orange that's showing. Ooh, very nice. Alright, and then get the seeds in a bit. I'm going to wait until that dries a little bit. Do the rind of this one. Okay, wipe off my brush. Grab some water. Do the cream. And on here, carefully going to get some of that in. Going to then rub this out. Spread this out. And it's okay if some of the pink gets in there, because that actually is, you know, what it looks like. So if that happens, don't panic. I'm gonna go this way because that part's lighter, and so I want to kind of taper that off, the raspberry, the pink carmine off a little bit as it gets into this more salmony coral area. So we're just gonna wipe that away. Okay. Alright, and now we're gonna do this third one. Oh, I may have some pink still in my brush. We're gonna do this one. Wipe that off, and then do the cream slash, you know, beige red. And then I'm going to do the sort of pink and raspberry. God, I keep calling it raspberry. I'm sorry. Carmine pink. Told you the coffee hasn't, clearly hasn't completely settled in yet. Right, I haven't done the dark area yet, but we will get to that. But for now, this is like really, I think the next part we're doing is just getting the rest of these colors in for now. And, it's okay if you go this way. You can go whichever way works for you. Just be careful about the brown for now, because we'll get to the brown, but I think for now, let's just get all this in and get the brown. And it's okay if it looks kind of grainy. This is only your first layer, so it's going to, some of it's probably going to look grainy. But as we develop it more, it should get to a more smooth watermelon look, which we're then going to disrupt, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Anyway, that is the first part of the watermelon tutorial. I will post the rest very soon, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone with too much off the bat. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying this, what else you'd like me to do. And yeah, thank you.